everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. There is a new midfield target for Manchester United. Belaba is too expensive, but Manchester United are not giving up here. We are in for Agoumé, according to multiple Spanish reports, a midfielder for Sevilla. Could this be one that Manchester United managed to pull off and still go back in for Belaba next summer? I'm going to talk all about him. Since the news broke, I've been doing a little bit of research. I want to ask you guys in the chat your thoughts as well. You guys that are watching the live, what your thoughts are on going for this midfielder. A couple of people messaged me saying he can't put in a worse performance than what Ugarte did in his little cameo against Arsenal. Is Agoumé someone that you would want to bring in? Been linked to Manchester United and Arsenal in the past. Could be a little bit of a Belaba alternative, as Ruben Amorim demands an athletic, energetic, dual-winning midfielder. Also, Atalanta back in for Rasmus Højlund. I mean, imagine if they get Rasmus Højlund back and he starts performing for them. They've earned a right bit of money off them. Absolutely fantastic stuff for them. But they could take Rasmus Højlund off our hands, who we know Manchester United are trying to kind of force an exit with. Rasmus Højlund is probably going to have to look at his options now after being left out of the squad. And there's some really interesting stuff coming in from Casemiro as well, talking about the aims for the season, talking about Manchester United and the standards. But the main thing is, I want to get into Agoumé, this midfielder that we have been linked to. Reports coming out of Spain that Manchester United might try and go and bid for Agoumé. What is he all about? And what are the benefits of bringing a player like this in? Okay, he's not 100 million Belaba, and I was a Belaba. I'm still a Belaba for next summer, but he's someone that could potentially do a job for us this year. And then that opportunity to still be able to go back in for Belaba being there because his price is quite low, that's something that does very much intrigue me. So welcome to the United Stand, everyone. Welcome to the afternoon show. So these are the couple of reports that have come out. So this is the first one, and this is from La Sevilla Foot. And this is an outlet that is in Spain, talking about news around Sevilla. They said Manchester United are prepared to bid 22 to 26 million pounds for Lucien Agoumé, but Sevilla point to his release clause, which is set at around 35 million pounds. Reports breaking that Manchester United are to bid 22 to 26 million pounds for Lucien Agoumé. And then there was another Spanish report that said Manchester United have set their sights on Sevilla's 23-year-old midfielder Lucien Agoumé after ending their pursuit of Carlos Belaba. Agoumé has a 35 million pounds release clause. He has been linked to Arsenal and Manchester United in the past. So 23 years old. I think he's 6'1", so dominant aerially in that midfield, which is something Manchester United need, because oftentimes when you're looking to Amorim's bench, when you're looking at our team, we have got players in there that can dominate in the box. De Ligt, Maguire, Casemiro's pretty good at that. Sesko's now coming in at 6'5" as well. But in the Premier League, like if you look when you're playing teams like Arsenal, even Everton when we played them in pre-season, you do need to be physically dominant and you do need to be aerially dominant at times. So to bring in a midfielder that not only is 6'1", because you can be tall and not be very good in the air, but also has got a good success rate in the air, is something that always does tick a box for me when you're looking to play in the Premier League, where you have them, you know, them big players that can cause you problems. And that's something we have been caught out on. That it has been our kryptonite. You know, them corners, them set pieces. We conceded a corner against Fiorentina. We conceded one against Arsenal, okay. Might have been a foul. Bayern also has to be stronger. We need a better keeper. But aerially, we need to be better. So that's something that caught my eye. 23, so still super young. He is French and he's played for the French national teams, was born in Cameroon, but the youth teams, he has played for France. So for everyone that's worried about losing him to AFCON because he was born in Cameroon, which I've seen people say on X, he has played for the French national teams, which makes me think he's going to try and play for the French national team as he moves into the senior team. He currently plays for Sevilla, as you all know. La Liga, good league, good experience. Defensive midfielder. He has a contract until June 2028, but he has that 35 million release clause in there, and Manchester United have a feeling they could get him for a little bit cheaper. And why is this exciting to me? And I've not seen loads of the player. I've obviously watched a lot of Sevilla, and La Liga as well is a league that I would have watched more than the other leagues around Europe, to be honest with you. La Liga is something that I'm not watching every single week, but I've watched bits and bobs of. But when you're looking for a midfielder, you're never going out there saying, I'm going to go and look today at Agoumé. Like, I don't know much about the player. I've not watched him with an eagle eye over the course of 90 minutes. I can't really remember watching him. However, before the show, as the news broke, so we've got to be honest with each other here. If people know him very well, get your comments in the chat. I did go and do my research on him. Going researching someone for a couple of hours is not the same as watching them over the course of the season, over the course of multiple 90 minutes. So I can't come on here and say, guys, we have to go and sign Agoumé, but there is positive signs there based on the research. I'd have to look at him further, but if anybody can bring something to the party, that'd be great as the community. But what does excite me about this signing of Agoumé, if Manchester United do go for it, first of all, you're still showing some ambition to go and get Manchester United a midfielder, particularly Ruben Amorim, a midfielder, who has been very vocal behind the scenes that he wants a physically dominant, energetic midfielder, a dual winner who can play in the middle of the park. He was on the phone to Sir Jim saying, go and make a splash, go and show some ambition. He was massively pushing for Belaba. However, Manchester United shouldn't only just ever have one option. If Brighton literally say to you, not for sale, and there is question marks whether United went and dropped 100 million, whether they'd say, actually, you know what, he is for sale, I'd now sell him. But the fact of the matter is, we're not going to get Belaba, whether the price is too high or whether Brighton are just like, no, he's not for sale. We don't know the exact details. But what Manchester United always should have in place is alternatives to a player. We have a scouting network who should be doing their jobs and scouting the best Belaba alternatives. And I'm not saying Agoumé is Belaba 2.0. I'm not saying that. And I think Belaba is the perfect signing. But what excites me about Agoumé is that if you're only spending 22 to 26 million pounds on him, you can still go and get Belaba next year. He's an exciting, promising prospect at 23. You can still go and get Belaba next year. You can go and spend the big money on Belaba. And with Agoumé, either, it works out and you've got great squad depth. You can sell him on because you've bought him at quite a cheap cost. Or he ends up doing really well and you're absolutely buzzing. Like, that's where you're at. It's, for example, when Manchester United, when they wanted in the past the big money players, there's always got to be alternatives for that. You look at the likes of, top teams and they don't just have one absolutely fantastic big money player. They have, the automatic starter, okay, but you also have squad depth, you have competition. And if you can't get Belaba this summer, that doesn't mean that Manchester United should have to go without a new midfielder all season. Amorim has made it clear he wants a midfielder. He's doing his job and saying, I need a midfielder. Manchester United, if they can't deliver him his number one choice in Belaba this year, well, I still want Belaba next year. All right, so how do we get in a midfielder and still be able to have that money there to go for Belaba next summer? We go and scout out this guy who looks pretty good, looks very promising, has similar traits and attributes to Belaba, but is, a quarter of the price, and we can still go and get Belaba next year. I think it makes sense. Whether it's just rumours now, whether it's just, reports coming out to link Manchester United to somebody because he's someone that the fans have got excited about. Goldbridge would say the Twitter hipsters, I would say people that are passionate about football who are on social media. Maybe it's just that, but if there is something in this, I do find it quite exciting, and I actually think it's a positive because there's no guarantees we're going to get Belaba next season. But do you know what would help us go and get Belaba next season? Getting in the Champions League. How do we get in the Champions League? Hopefully by having a physically dominant midfielder that ticks the boxes that Ruben Amorim wants, that can help out our midfield. Lucien Agoumé could be somebody that helps Manchester United get into that Champions League that then goes and gets Belaba. You don't know. So it is exciting, and I can see a lot of people in the comments getting excited about this. You have a lot of people saying get Lucien Agoumé now. Insider says he's nothing like Belaba though. Lamine Camara is more closer to Belaba. Gary Maguire says nobody mentioning Guerra as an alternative to Belaba. He'd be good and reasonably priced. Guerra is someone who we've been linked to multiple times, but I think again it's fans that are kind of pushing that side of things. Ashke Mohan says 5 Champions League clubs will come in for Belaba next season. Frank J says Agoumé is not as good as you think. He's slow and clumsy with the ball like Ugarte. Don't sign him. Dan Loves Man United says he will be a learner driver. Richard Jack says Guerra has signed a new deal. And Daniel Binook says what is happening with Hojlund. Hojlund, I don't think he's coming, to be honest with you. I know Mark was very optimistic about Hojlund this morning on the morning show, but it's been loose links to Hojlund. He's on the list. Ornstein played it down. First of all, he's got an Arsenal tattoo, which is very off-putting. Second of all, Amorim worked with Hojlund first-hand at Sporting. He managed him. If Amorim wanted Hojlund, we would have gone for him by now. I don't think it's a promising sign that Hojlund's like the last kind of option towards the end, yet Amorim literally worked with him and played him at Sporting. When Amorim came into Manchester United, there was 2 players that he wanted from Sporting. And them 2 players were Kenda and Gyökeres. We didn't get either. We tried to get Kenda, Chelsea beat us. We tried to, we thought about Gyökeres. Arsenal was his first choice. We never went into that race because we want players that want United. And Amorim didn't come in and say, I want Hojlund straight away. So that's a little bit off-putting for me. I don't think we'll get him and I don't think we'll go for him. Good player, decent player, but I don't think it's someone I'd get mega excited about. I think if Hojlund was worth it, we would have already gone in for him. Amorim's seen him firsthand. So I don't think we'll go and get Hojlund. Adriano Morris says, get Lucien Agoumé, a very good creative midfielder. So there's mixed messages in the chat. A few people comparing him to Ugarte, which I think is a little bit unfair. A few people saying that they really want to go and get him. Get your thoughts in, get your comments in. I've done a little bit of research on his strengths and his attributes that I'll bring into the show for people who maybe aren't as aware of what he can bring to the table. But what I was also thinking about this is, could he be another, Aiden Heaven, Patrick Dorgu, someone who we don't really know much about, but we go and pick up and actually looks really promising? Like Aiden Heaven for 1 million, absolute steal, brilliant work by the scouting department. Patrick Dorgu, when he first initially came in, I questioned it. I didn't think he looked ready. And I thought for the price we paid, which was around, £26 million, something like that, I thought we might as well have gone and paid the extra and got someone like Aït-Nouri, who's worked with Cunha before, has a relationship with him, and is Premier League proven. However, Dorgu is starting to live up to why the scouts went and got him in. I still don't think he's the finished article. I still think he's got a lot to improve on. But the basics are there to build on, and he looks really promising. Could he be another one of them where you're bringing him for a cheaper fee, but you look back at it and think, OK, there's talent there that we can work with, and he could really progress into a decent signing for us. So let's see. Justin De Silva says, did we sell Collier? If not, I want to see some progression this year. He's got the build for a Prem CDM, even though he was young. Exactly right. We've let Collier go on loan to West Brom. I don't think we would have done that unless we were going to bring in a midfielder. So Belaba or nothing, I have mentioned that before. In that, I mean like big money on a player. Like, for example, we aren't going to go and sign Adam Wharton. We're just not. We're not going to do that. As good as he'd be, we're not. I still think the plan is to go in for Belaba next year, but that doesn't mean we won't sign a midfielder at all, and Agoumé may fit the bill in terms of price and attributes. So, a little bit about him. So, in terms of the clubs he's played for, it's 16 years old. He's got decent progressive passing. He can adapt to transitional play, delivering good short and long passes, and often is good at pressing to initiate attacks. That's something that's exciting because Manchester United often are caught in transition or are trying to play a little bit of transition football. Even though against Arsenal we dominated the majority of the ball, there still were a lot of transitions where we did do damage, and also we have to get back into defensive transition to try and defend against Arsenal, who are coming at us, who were, at points in a lot of the game, parking the bus and trying to hit us on the break. So that's something we're going to have to contend with when we play teams this season. So that's something that I think Manchester United could do within there. Work rate, known for his relentless pressing and ability to cover the ground, contributing both defensively and offensively. Again, this is the main thing that Amorim wants. He's different to Belaba. Belaba's up here, in my opinion. But what Amorim wants from a midfielder is them to be relentless. He wants them to be a physical monster. He wants them to be able to win the ball back at every given opportunity. He wants them to eat up ground. He wants them to cover massive amounts of distance. That is a good sign. If that's in a scout report that he is, got an amazing ability to cover ground, an amazing ability to relentlessly press, that's exactly what Ruben Amorim wants. I mean, the players even said it themselves in interviews in the pre-season that the counter-pressing and the pressing that they've been doing in the pre-season is something Amorim is a stickler for. So that's a really good positive from the signing if we do go and get him. And also aerial presence. Despite his role as a defensive midfielder, he's strong in aerial duels, winning a significant percentage of them. This was a really good stat that I wanted to bring in as well from Statman Dave that I saw. Lucien Agoumé made 4.73 tackles and interceptions per 90 in La Liga last season, putting him in the top 2% of midfielders for that metric. So in the top 2% of tackling and interceptions per 90. That again is something that Ruben Amorim will want. I know a lot of people say, well, that's, the side of the game Ugarte brings. I would really like to know, and it's something I'm going to do a bit of a deep delve in if we continue to be linked to him, is how good is he on the ball? Because Ugarte can get around the pitch. Ugarte, can put a challenge in, but he's costing us in dangerous areas of the pitch because he can't decipher when to release the ball, how many touches to take. He's not very press resistant. We need press resistant midfielders that are able to play one-touch football, know when someone's breathing down the neck, know when to release the ball, where to release the ball. And Ugarte, when he's actually dribbling into the final third, he looks pretty decent. But when he's got pressure on him in our third and in our box, he oftentimes loses the ball far too much and far too easily. So that's the one thing about Lucien Agoumé that I would want to know is he good on the ball, or is he going to be sloppy, or is he just going to bring the same things that Ugarte does, or is he going to bring that tackling ability, that work ethic, that relentless energy, as well as being able to be press resistant, bring the ball out from the back, find his teammates. That's something I'd want to know. S. Madison says he ain't good on the ball. Another Ugarte. A lot of people saying goalkeeper. Why do this when we have Manu? Manu is an interesting one that we can maybe talk about towards the end of the show as well. Adriano Morris says, go and get him. Very technical midfielder. Please get this deal done. We'll keep getting your chats in. Keep getting your super chats in, of course. Antonio Swart says 100% he can play that role. And Calvus Chrome says he isn't as bad on the ball as Ugarte. Christian Pelde says Ugarte knows Amorim doesn't rate him. He already has sold him before. Aria says Belaba is like 120 million. For this, we can sign a goalkeeper and a good midfielder. But the thing is, that money that we'd use to sign Belaba, we're going to use next year to try and sign Belaba. And I'm going to be honest right now, I want to sign Belaba. No matter who we sign this summer, I want to at least try to sign Belaba next summer. We have to try and sign Belaba next summer. I'll be gutted if we spent like 50 million on a midfielder that was like a 7 out of 10 this year, and then next year that meant we couldn't go for Belaba, who is, in my opinion, a 10 out of 10. We've got to still go for Belaba next summer. And I know a lot of people say, but there's no way we're going to be able to get Belaba next year. There's no chance. Why is there no chance? Okay, yeah, competition is going to be strong, but we are not out of Europe next season. This season we are, but next season we can still compete for Europe, so we might get European football. We've already held conversations with the player. We've already held conversations with Brighton. That gets you a bit of a head start. Okay, yeah, other big clubs might come in for him, but what big clubs need that position next season? I'm looking at it. Arsenal don't. They've got Rice and Zubimendi. They're not going to go there. Chelsea don't. They've got Caicedo. However, Chelsea just do go for every player under the sun, so you never know. Liverpool, I doubt are going to go in there. I mean, they could, but they've got Gravenberch, they've got McAllister, they've got Szoboszlai. Like, they could, but he's not guaranteed the game time at Liverpool. And City could. City could, to be fair, because Rodri isn't, at his absolute peak. He's still a fantastic player, but he suffered a little bit of injuries recently. And City have felt that. City could go for him. But I do think Manchester United would be well in the race. Also, a lot of people didn't think we'd be able to get Cunha and Mbeumo this summer, and we managed to do it without any European football. I do think if Manchester United build on that performance against Arsenal, European football could be on the cards. Saint Blanco says, if Belaba costs too much, we should go and get Tchouaméni. I've always loved Tchouaméni, but I don't think that would happen. Alawain Wadji says, best Belaba alternative is Manu Kone from Roma. Play for the French national teams. Well, everyone's getting their opinion in, which is really good to see. Big says, but his pass completion rate is really concerning. A lot of people talk about Kone, obviously, from the academy as well. And Kone is exciting, but Amorim's seen him firsthand. If Amorim thought he was ready, he would bring him in and he wouldn't be demanding a midfielder. We've got to be patient with our academy players. Even though Mainu's already, come on the scene and broke through, I still think a little patience is needed with him. I think he should be getting way more minutes, but especially our academy players, while Ruben Amorim's steadying the ship, while he's taking us to a stable position, I don't think he wants to throw in any really young players and throw them to the wolves. I think Kone is a really exciting prospect, but I think you've just got to take your time with him. And when he's ready, I trust Amorim to bring him in at the right time. It is interesting, though, because every Manchester United manager has brought through an academy product. Erik ten Hag brought through Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo. Managers before that, who have other managers brought through? Mourinho brought through McTominay. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think, brought through Mason Greenwood at the time. We've had others come through as well. I think Louis van Gaal. Who did Louis van Gaal bring through? Was it Marcus Rashford under Louis van Gaal? David Moyes, was he Januzaj? Or was Januzaj after that? I'm trying to remember. But we've always kind of had recent managers bring through academy products. And I do wonder who that is going to be for Ruben Amorim, because he's not really he's not got his academy player yet that he's going to bring through, is it? I know it's early days, but even though we're kind of writing last season off, he has been here for nearly a year now, and there's not a single academy player that he's really kind of nurturing through into the first team yet. So that's something to look at. Fredrickson, just Danny says, Fredrickson's interesting, but can you really see him starting in that back three at any point? When everyone's fit, you've got Mazraoui, you've got De Ligt, you've got Maguire, you've got Martinez, you've got Aiden Heaven, you've got Yoro. I mean, you could say Aiden Heaven, even though Aiden Heaven, right, we bought him in for $1 million. He's a young player that he's bringing through. So he's not an academy product, but he's a young player that he's bringing through. Even Lenny Yoro, right, even though we brought him in for big money, he's still a young player that Amorim is nurturing. It's one of them, if you're good enough, you're old enough, isn't it? But it will be interesting to see how many academy players do break through under Amorim, because I feel like previous managers have maybe relied on them a little bit more than what Amorim has so far in his tenure. But it's early days. Jason, and also, I don't think Amorim wants to throw them in while we're in such a bad place. And I think that's wise. I think it's protecting them. But he has a track record of bringing through youth. I mean, he did it at Sporting, he did it at Braga. He has got a track record, so I'm not worried about it. Jason Garbett says it's a different Kone they're on about. Yeah, I know they're on about the Kone from Roma, but then I brought up the Kone from the academy that we brought in through Vivell, because a lot of people talk about him as well, so it kind of just reminded me of that. A few things that Agoumé has had in his time. He was in the Under-17 Championship Team of the Year in 2019, and also he was in the Maurice Revello Tournament Best 11 in 2022. So let's see what happens with him. There's a few reports about it. Let us know your thoughts down below. But it's a new target, and it's something to definitely think about, and it allows you to still go for Belaba next summer. Next thing I wanted to talk about was news surrounding Rasmus Højlund. So we know now that Rasmus Højlund is going to leave Manchester United. Manchester United have been manoeuvring his exit for quite a decent period of time. The most recent thing in that event was Ruben Amorim leaving him out of the matchday squad against Arsenal, which was a big symbol of you need to move on. I think it's very well known that Rasmus Højlund needs to move on now. But this came out from The Athletic, so obviously a very reliable source. Atalanta continue to follow Rasmus Højlund's situation and have given consideration to bringing him back to Bergamo. So Atalanta, after selling Rasmus Højlund to us for up to 72 million, now we're looking at bringing him back, and God knows how much they'll buy him back for. If there was any fairness in this world, they'd give us at least 40 million. But honestly, at the time, Rasmus Højlund only should have been brought in for 35 million anyway. When we were linked to him, I thought that was going to be a 35 million deal. How on earth Atalanta managed to get 72 mil out of us, I'll never know. All I'm going to say is John Murtough was the sporting director at Manchester United. I think he's now, I mean, he definitely works for Atalanta. I don't know his exact title, but I'll put it there. I'll put it there. Obviously, I'm not insinuating anything, but it's just the amount of money that we spent on Højlund for the amount of experience he had was huge, really. It was absolutely huge. But if there is clubs interested in Rasmus Højlund, that is a good thing. A lot of Italian clubs are interested in him. Napoli have been linked to him recently with their injury of Lukaku. We know AC Milan want him. And now you've got Atalanta debating whether to bring him back as well. That just says to me that they know that there is a player in there. PSG were competing for his signature when we went for him. And I remember doing shows with Romano at the time, and there was so much hype coming out of Italy around Rasmus Højlund. There is talent there. There was a player that everyone thought was going to go on to absolutely smash it there. He has not been as successful as what a lot of people thought he was going to be. But how many times have we seen players come to United, not do very well, not fulfill the potential, leave and do well? So for Rasmus Højlund's sake, I hope he goes away. I hope he does well. Maybe he's more suited to Serie A. That's where, we began to kind of, people take notice of him. Let's hope he does well. If he is on loan, great stuff for us, because then we can sell him for even more. If he goes on a permanent, I'd just use that if I was Rasmus Højlund as like fire in my belly to go and prove people wrong. So yeah. Let's see what happens there, but he is probably going to end up in Italy. Sean Usher says, trigger Sancho's +1 if he keeps turning down moves. Clearly trying to run it down for a big payday next year. He can rot for 2 years. Yeah, but United just aren't going to do that, because they're not going to want to pay 350 grand a week. Like, they're not going to want to pay 350 grand a week, and Sancho knows that. Sometimes you just got to take the L, and you've just got to think of, let's not ever give contracts out like that again. And thank God we've not got people in place that are giving them contracts out anymore. Sometimes you just got to do that. He wants the money. United, if they triggered the +1, it's another year of 350 grand a week. We just need him gone ASAP. And I think United are just going to have to take the fact that they're probably going to have to loan him out, which is so frustrating. So frustrating. But this is what happens when you give players massive contracts that have not got the mentality that's right for the football club and haven't had the background work done on them. Anyway, let's finish off the show. I'll bring a couple more of your chats in a second, but let's finish off the show with some of Casemiro's quotes from a recent interview. So this is what Casemiro had to say. This is a leader, despite what you may think of, where he's at now in terms of his performance levels. I actually thought he did pretty well against Arsenal. He's a leader, he's been around the block and he knows what it takes to win. He said, Manchester United always has to think about the victory. I'm not going to say that losing is okay because we have to win. Manchester United always has to win. But I think we have shown good moments and we have played much better versus Arsenal. But we have to look at the victory. So we have to look for the victory. We are on the right path now. We have a good connection and that's the path we are taking. Casemiro also got asked about what United has been lacking. And he said, everyone can have an opinion. In the last few years, we have reached several finals, such as the Europa League final last season. And the thing missing is to win. Few clubs win these cups and we need to continue thinking about winning these trophies and continuing to improve. He said, I am very happy here. My family is happy here. I enjoy every day at Carrington and at Old Trafford. If people talk from the outside, that is fine. It doesn't interest me. I want to focus on winning. So I think, honestly, the only reason that Casemiro stayed around is because he's on 350 grand a week and United can't shift him. However, I don't mind him being around. The reason why I don't mind him being around is because he can do a job. He knows what it takes to win and we need that experience in that dressing room. He's got a great mentality. He shows the right behaviours. Like, he is someone that players in that dressing room can look up to. He trains well and, you know, he's someone who walks into the dressing room with 5 Champions Leagues. Like, he earns respect. So that's why I don't mind it. The bit that's obviously a bit frustrating is 350 grand a week. However, when that contract is up next season, he's going to leave the football club. But for now, if he can continue to produce similar levels of performance as what he did against Arsenal, he's a decent player to keep around. He is. But the amount of money he's on is absolutely crazy, and it's another example for Manchester United of not giving out absolutely huge, massive contracts because, say if the next manager maybe, you know, he doesn't quite fit the playing style, or, you know, they have a little bit of a drop off like Casemiro did, it's a real struggle to move anybody on that's on that kind of money. It really is. Daniel Bunick says Diogo Costa would be nice, but Amorim trusts Bayindir. Oh, absolutely. If Amorim had the chance to bring Diogo Costa in right now, he would jump at it and he would say bye-bye Bayindir. But we heard this morning, so I won't go over it too much, but we heard this morning on Goldbridge's show, Emi Martinez, Amorim was pushing for it. He wants a goalkeeper. He's said it multiple times behind the scenes he wants a goalkeeper. He's said it since January. He's actually had talks with Diogo Costa. But United will not spend on a goalkeeper until they can get Onana out, and there's no takers. There's no takers for Onana. So Amorim's kind of stuck with these 2 goalkeepers now. And the way he defended Bayindir, I said it on my show yesterday, it's just a theory, I might be wrong, but it wouldn't surprise me if he went with him for a while, is his first choice. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Look, everyone, thank you for watching. Smash a like on the video if you haven't already. I am off to Marbella for just under a week. So I'll be back next week. I'll be back on the shows. I might give a few updates from Marbella. I know Ricky's actually over there while I'm over there, so I might try and meet up with him while I'm over there. Jordan's over there at the time as well. It's like United stand crew take Marbella. So when the Fulham game is on Sunday, I think I'm meeting up with Ricky to watch it in Marbella, and Jordan as well. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I think there might be, I don't even know. There's a few other names that might be there as well. But we are going to be there, and I might try and get some bits to throw up on social still. So stay tuned for that. If not, then have a great week, everyone. I have loved, you know, doing the shows since we've been back from America, being back in the studio. And I'm only gone for just under a week. You might not even miss me, but I will be back, and stay tuned for all the other latest content. Go over to That's Football. Go and watch the latest videos on there. Stay tuned for any breaking news that comes out. We'll be live on the United Stand. And also, Ben Jacobs Thursday. I'll be tuning in. I'll be tuning in from the Beach Club. That's what I'll be doing. Check the comments. I'll be there. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I will see you on the next one.